Was the explosion, it said?
In 45.
45. Yeah, I was taken off the towboats and put in the towboat office.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there for, I think it's 6 or 8 years. Like, we were the hiring hall. The BC Towboat owners owned it. And we hired all the crews for the boats when they needed replacing. That was mates, captains, mates, engineers, cooks, deckhands, coal passers when there was coal, oilers for oiling the engine, and firemen for stoking the boilers. And then when it came to oil, we still had firemen that regulated it. So that was, then I moved on from there. This Marine Search and Rescue became so big, I was taken out of there and put out into the Air Force's Search and Rescue, RCC, Rescue Coordination Center, as the Marine advisor to the Air Commodore. They were doing the Air Force end of it, and I was doing the Marine end of it.
Excellent. Okay, so you've had quite a varied career.
Yes, I would say so.
I'm very interested to know what you see as being different about the way towboats are operated today compared to back in the 40s and 50s, 30s, 40s, and 50s when you were involved.
In the old days, you started as cook deckhand on the boat. You had to do the cooking as well as the decking. And there was minimal crews in those days because it was the hungry 30s. Like, I was on the Solander belonging to Captain W.Y. Higgs. And we just took any job we could take, and there was only 3 of us on the boat. Now the same boat today would have 7 of a crew. We had no radar, of course, no radio telephones, and none of the satellite navigation they have now. And you had to work on the boats for, I think it was 4 years wheel time, working your way up from cook deckhand to mate, and then when you had to have 4 years wheel time in. That's actually working on the boat. You couldn't count your days off, although there weren't any days off because you had to keep going. And then you could go to school, the navigation school, and learn all the other stuff you had to learn. And then you went up and sat for your ticket. You had to have an eye test and a physical test and everything else that goes with it. So if you were lucky enough to be able to write your exams and pass, well, then you became a master mariner. Nearly. When we were running the Towboat Employment Agency, we had 55 towboat companies. And now you can count them, I think, maybe on 1 or 2 hands.
Although a couple of those companies are very large.
Oh yes,
and have a large number of boats, such as
you're thinking of Seaspan.
Right.
Seaspan, which used to be Vancouver Tugboat.
Right.
And
Island Tug and Barge.
And Island Tug and Barge, oh yes. Oh yeah, well, and Straits Towing, and Rivtow Towing, and Stradiati Brothers. There were a lot of them. And, well, I can't go through the 55, but there were a lot of tugboat companies and a lot of tugs. We had a lot of fun.
Can you think of some experiences that you had on the boats?
Well, I guess this shouldn't be talked about, but I'll talk about it. In the hungry 30s, you didn't have much to eat. So if you could shoot a deer, it didn't matter whether it was in season or out of season as long as nobody saw it. Then you could bring that aboard. And some of the companies, like Kinkham Navigation, which is Powell River Company, was Powell River Company, they supplied their tugboats with fishing equipment. I mean, trolling equipment and pressure cookers. So when they were towing, they were going just the right speed for fishing, and there were a lot of fish in those days. And they'd catch a fish, clean it, the cook would clean it, and pressure cook it and can it. So they had that. At one other time, which was kind of amusing, we were going up the river on the tug Solander that I was on, and we got up just about opposite the old penitentiary. Out in the we were out in the middle of the river, and we got frozen in when the river froze up. We used to sit and watch the convicts inside the penitentiary sleigh riding inside on the grounds of the penitentiary, and things like that. Of course, that's all gone now. But another time when the freshet was on in the Fraser River, I was on the Solander still then. We were going across the Gulf, and you know what a freshet is.
Oh, yes.
It's rivers flooding.
Yeah.
We saw something out in the middle of the Gulf. We were going over to, I guess, Paulia Pass. We saw something out in the middle of the Gulf, and we were running light, weren't towing anything. So we went over to have a look. It was an old hen coop with one rooster sitting on the roof. He'd saved his life. So we saved his life. No, we didn't kill him to eat him because we couldn't after he'd been through all that. We took him ashore, and Captain Higgs gave him to somebody that had a farm or something. But another funny thing that happened was my very great friend, Captain Jimmy Corfield, was down in, what's the name of that place with the pulp? Crofton. Getting booms out to tow up to Crofton. Up to Nanaimo. And he had a tug then that had a Bollinger engine in it. It had a hot-headed Bollinger engine. You had to keep the blowtorches going on the heads of this semi-diesel, so it would diesel. So you never shut it off. And he was working down there, and he put a hook line into the boom, standing boom that was there, and then made it fast onto the tug and left the tug in gear so as it would stay hot enough to keep going. And it went out and worked on the boom, and all of a sudden he heard the boom men working on the boom. For God's sake, run! And so everybody ran, looked around, and here the line had come loose, and the tug had started off on its own and was heading straight for the boom. It would break the side sticks and then ride up into the boom. Well, those are some of the things that happened.
Yeah.